it? Up the Gunners. I hope Thierry Henry scores a hat trick. Do you
Fingers
remember?
crossed.
Do you remember when Thierry Henry came back like 10 years later at the end of his career on loan? It's perhaps 3 or 4 seasons ago now. He just left the team he was playing for in the US. I think it was like New York or LA Galaxy or one of those teams where he went. He came back. Arsene Wenger brought him back. He was like, 35, which is quite old in football terms for a striker. He was on the subs bench, and it was an FA Cup semi-final against Leeds United. He came on in the 85th minute, and he scored a goal in the last minute to beat Leeds 2-1. And it warmed your heart because he's like a legend at Arsenal. He's got his own statue outside, and it was just a great moment, just a great bloody moment. And no one likes Leeds either, so it made it even better.
Do you remember when Thierry Henry's whole thing was going va-va-voom?
And what did va-va-voom even mean? It was like for a car advert or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, was it car or was it Nike? I can't remember.
No, because the advert was him like walking around the streets of some Spanish village and this car driving, or maybe a southern French village, and he was walking around saying "va va voom," like shrugging his shoulders whilst the car was driving around very, very narrow streets. It was very sexy and very cool, but it didn't really make much sense. Oh, do you remember that advert for? This was for Nike. It was like Scorpion, I think it was, where it's like this cage match on this ship with this little tiny golden football with a scorpion on it, and there's all these like legendary footballers playing in this cage match. You must remember this. This was all the rage. It was like Cantona was like the referee. I think the old Ronaldo, Rivaldo, and Roberto Carlos were in it. I'm gonna have to find like the YouTube video.
Okay, well, whilst you're finding that, I'm going to introduce that this is episode 256 of Heroes of Handheld, the internet's premium handheld gaming podcast, dedicated to all things Switch, all things mobile, occasional dripples of 3DS and PlayStation Vita. My name's Chris. I'm joined by Colin. In case you never listened before, we promise.
Yeah, here it is. It was called
not another football podcast.
It was called The Cage. That was it. You must remember this. Yeah,
Figo.
Here's the link. You quickly watch it. If you watch a bit of this, and then I will continue talking. I'm going to put in the old. There we go. The old thing. Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome to Heroes of Handheld. Whilst Chris is getting distracted by football adverts from probably the early. One last advert, because when you search things on YouTube and then suggested videos come up which are similar. Do you remember the advert for Pepsi where it was David Beckham and Casillas, and he's like in this bar, and he's like wearing like a cowboy hat, and he says Pepsi, and he sees like Casillas next to him. He goes outside, and he takes a penalty against him. So good.
I'm watching this Cage one. I do remember this. I remember seeing it in cinemas.
Oh, it's so good. That ball, that little scorpion ball, everyone had that. Like we used to play. Edgar Davids as well.
Edgar Davids
with his little sunglasses. Ruud van Nistelrooy, Luis Figo.
Do you remember
legends?
Was it Trezeguet? Do you remember
Trezeguet? David? Yeah, he's played for Juventus. Yeah, I remember him.
There was a show that used to. It's a slow news week. There was a show that used to be on radio. It probably wasn't called 5 Live then. I think it was called Radio 5.
Yeah.
It used to be on late at night when the transfer season was on, and the show was called The Rumour Mill. Do you remember this? And anyway, I remember staying up late one night, and I listened to The Rumour Mill every night whilst I was going to sleep because I was listening out for Arsenal news. Because back before really like everyone had internet in their houses, you got your rumour news either from kids at school, but it was summer, or from radio program The Rumour Mill, or from CFAX and Teletext. And I remember at about 10:30 when I should have been asleep because I was only like 9 years old, there was a rumour that Trezeguet was going to sign for Arsenal, and I went woohoo, and I ran downstairs, and Dad was watching TV, and it was obviously like, I don't know, I can't remember what he was watching, but like he was watching something at 10:30 at night, so it can't have been anything good for kids. And I was like, Dad, Trezeguet is going to sign for Arsenal. They've just said it on the rumour mill. And Dad was like, Chris, it's 10:30. Go to sleep. But he didn't sign for Arsenal, did he?
That would have been a great signing if he had, though.
Oh, iconic.
He was a great player. Oh, such fun. Anyway, so Where do we get up to in introductions? Did we say this is Heroes of Handheld, the podcast dedicated to handheld gaming?
We did. Colin, what have you been playing this week?
Here's the thing. The whole gaming scene's been. I've been pretty poor on the old gaming this week. I've just been sticking to Pokemon Go, to be honest with you. That really is my thing at the moment. Like the latest update, which we'll get into in a minute, about the whole sleeping Snorlax is really, really cool. Obviously, they had the raid event last week, where all the research tasks were raid based, and Lapras appeared in raid battles as well, which was quite cool. But as I said, now sleeping is the big thing. Sleeping is the big thing. Before we get into that with Pokemon, actually, Chris, what have you been playing? Then we'll get into that.
I've been playing a game on. I can't remember if I. Colin, did I tell you that I bought an iPad like 2 months ago, 3 months ago?
I think you when I last heard you were thinking about it, but
So
no, I
I
didn't know
bought.
that.
I bought an iPad and I've been playing. I've been struggling to find, like, I'm not just using it for games, but I've been struggling to find games that really hit me on it. I played through Monument Valley again, the second one, which has obviously looked amazing. But I've been playing a game which is made by, I don't know who it's made by actually, but it's in relation to Wizards of the Coast, who are the people who make Dungeons and Dragons. And it's a game which is called Idle Champions. And Idle Champions is a I don't really know how you define it. It can be a number of things. It's a sort of action clicky game where you have to beat bosses by powering up your heroes, putting them in interesting formations. I'm going to show you on the screen, Colin.
Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, so this is what it looks like, and you can see your characters moving from one side to the other on a 2D plane, beating bad guys, collecting gold. You use gold to upgrade your heroes. The more you upgrade your heroes, the more damage they do. But you can also you can manage everything yourself, but also you can put autoplay on, and then it kind of ticks away in the background. So there's a bit of a kind of resource management element to it, which I quite like. There's a strategy element. You upgrade your characters between campaigns so that when you then because you sort of, when you start a campaign, you start from scratch and you have to unlock all the characters again. But what you do excuse me, they've got the upgrades you had from last time, so there's that kind of element to it. So I've been playing a lot of that. It's very satisfying because you can play it very intensely and feel like you're contributing, but also you can just leave it to tick over and feel like it's kind of farming as well. So it's a very good game. The graphics are really nice. It's got nice range of characters and heroes from Dungeons and Dragons lore, but also from like games and from campaigns and podcasts and things. So it's not just stuff that's made up. It's like if you're into the world of D&D, it's like a nice love letter to it. So yeah, I've been playing that quite a lot this week. That's been my kind of go-to need some time to kill game. I've been trying to unlock characters on that and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that game, are you constantly moving in that game? Because you opened it and he was moving.
Yeah, you're constantly going from left to right, but you are that's just a pretext for showing you how many bad guys you've killed. Basically, there's no like, you can't stop your characters or move up and down the plane. It's just like a way of showing you what's going on, really.
I see. Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah, it's good. I'd recommend it.
In terms of iPad game, back when I had an iPad, I did play a few games on there. One game I was completely obsessed with was The Sims Busting Out. Was it Busting Out? It was one of the Sims games. Maybe it was like just The Sims for iPad. Oh boy, that took over my life when I first had an iPad. So good, but you had to wait like real life time for things to build, things to be made, which is annoying. Actually, talking about games we've been playing, I did download a game on my iPad, on my phone, and I did start to play it, but never complete the setup. It's called Airline Manager, where you manage an airline. I got to the point of choosing my airport and choosing like the name of my company and whether I wanted to be like the big manager or CEO or chairman, and then I just forgot about it. But maybe I'll get back into that.
Is it like the Matt Lucas and David Williams show about the airport? Are you going to run it like that?
Oh, Come Fly With Me. What was the name of that? Was it Fly Low or Fly? Yeah, that was it. Like the guy was like the manager of that company, wasn't he? And he kept saying, We've removed all toilet paper to save trees and stuff.
That's so funny.
Oh, so good. I love that show. That was so good. Gavin and Stacey's getting a Christmas special. You excited about that?
So let's talk about that after we've done the gaming news, because
No,
we've been on for quarter of an
relevant.
hour and we've not spoke about anything gaming
I've not even spoken about Hugh Jackman yet. Jesus Christ, so much to talk about. Right, so let's talk about gaming. And obviously E3 is coming around very quick, and in the build up to E3 you always get all these teasers and trailers for games that are coming out in the near future. And the past week we really had an onslaught. Actually, not even the past week, the past few days we're getting so many bits of information about upcoming games. We're getting trailers, teasers. Over the past week, ones that come to mind is The Simpsons are going to have a panel at E3, and people are thinking that could mean Simpsons Hit and Run 2 or remaster of Hit and Run.
A remaster of Hit and Run would be incredible.
Now, I'm excited for that. And the reason for that is, if that is the case, the reason I'm excited is because I never played Hit and Run when it first came out. And the
Colin, it's so
reason,
good.
the only reason I didn't play, I remember I was at school and everyone was talking about it. Absolutely everyone was playing it. Everyone was loving it. But the reason I didn't play it is because I had a PS1. I went straight from a PS1 to an Xbox 360, and I didn't have a PS2, so I couldn't play it. I remember I did get it on PC like a year or two after it first came out, and because my PC was so terrible, it wouldn't run. So I almost played it, but if there was a remaster, I'd definitely want to play it because I feel I missed it all those years ago, and this would be a good opportunity. It would make sense more for a remaster than a sequel, I think, at this point, because remastering is what everyone's doing at the moment with their old games. So yeah, I'm intrigued by that. I don't know what else it could be. Surely it's got to be something to do with Hit and Run. That's been the whole thing online, is people excited about potential remaster of that. So,
if you've not played Hit and Run before and you're not sure why someone would be excited for it, the game it's essentially GTA but in Springfield. It's like an open world driving game, but you can get out of your car and explore. There's like it's chock a block full of Simpsons Easter eggs, and the only thing for me is I don't think it will be a remaster. I think they are going to do a sequel, because I think since that game's come out, there's so much more going on in The Simpsons that I think you could easily do another game like filled with references and things like that. But I kind of hope it's a remaster, because that first game is based on the earlier seasons, which a lot of people would say are funnier than the more recent ones.
Yeah, that is the trendy thing, is to hate on the new Simpsons, isn't it? But maybe this could be a perfect opportunity to potentially bring people back to The Simpsons, because I don't know whether the popularity is waning a little bit. Obviously, it is still going. They've, I think Fox announced another 2 seasons were going to at least be made of The Simpsons after all these years. And, a lot of people love to hate on The Simpsons and say the writing's not as good and things like that as back in the heady days of the early 2000s and late 90s. But
here's my bet. I think at the panel they're going to announce 2 games. I think they're going to announce a free-to-play with in-app purchases mobile game for Simpsons, but they've already got tapped out, so I think it'll be like maybe a card game, something like that. And then I think they'll follow that up with a Hit and Run re-release, because I think they're going to do Bad Will, Goodwill.
Yeah.
And I think like a new Simpsons free-to-play mobile game makes a lot of sense in the kind of current climate.
But yeah, they also need to understand and acknowledge the hate that big companies have received recently for going down the mobile gaming route. You remember forgotten the name, the Blades game, whatever it's called, where they said
Elder Scrolls and Diablo.
Diablo, that was it, where they were like, you have phones. So Simpsons are very good at like referencing these things. And I remember when Disney purchased Fox recently, and Disney released The Simpsons released that animation, didn't they? A very quick clip where they're like saying, we're so happy that it was like Homer and Bart and Marge, and they were like talking about how Disney have taken over, and they're saying we overlords and things like that. So they do like take the piss a bit out of things that are happening in real life. So maybe there might be a little teaser video. You'd hope there'd be like some video that accompanies any announcement, and maybe they'll tease it like a mobile game, and then they'll reveal that it's actually a hit and run remaster.
Yeah,
You think it's got to be something pretty big for them to have a whole panel at E3? It's got to be something pretty big. I don't think it would just be for like a mobile game or something like that. But you never know. Stranger things happen. Stranger Things comes back in a couple of months. Very excited about that. Anyway, so that was one thing that was announced. Before we came on air, actually, a little teaser video was revealed for Call of Duty, the new one. There's been lots of stories going around recently about how Call of Duty is going to just be called Modern Warfare, and people are thinking it's just going to be a like what films do, when they redo the whole story. I've forgotten the word for that. Reboot the whole story. They're thinking it could be a reboot of Modern Warfare, which I think would be completely stupid, considering they released the Modern Warfare remaster a couple of years ago, but a little teaser was released on the Call of Duty official Facebook page about an hour ago now, and all it was a bit of static, and it was something like blackout. I think they were like saying all out blackout or something, and it was a little like transmission. And very briefly, you saw a date of the 30th of May and a time. So you assume tomorrow there'll be some trailer or some announcements reveal for it tomorrow, but it's very limited. People are thinking it could be like a sequel to Ghosts, reading between the lines, but I'm not too sure. But once again, we'll wait and see. I'm always excited to see what Call of Duty does every year. Call of Duty always have a special place in my heart, though obviously I've gone off the bandwagon a little bit over the past few years. The Modern Warfare series, Black Ops 1 and 2, two huge games I played a lot when I was younger, and even more recently, World War II, the Call of Duty game I loved a lot. I like the online on that and the war game type and the zombies and stuff. So we'll wait and see. I'm intrigued to see what's going to be coming from Call of Duty. I just hope, I don't know. I just hope there's a campaign. But after how popular the game last year was, who knows? So that was another thing. What else? Oh, there's lots of talk today about Death Stranding. Is it Death Stranding? That game that's been in the works for years and years, and we finally have a release date for that apparently, which is exciting.
November, it's very soon.
Yeah, featuring Norman Reedus off of Walking Dead, and that creepy guy who's always the creepy villain in things.
Colin.
Yeah, that's the one. Brilliant. I saw a film the other day that's called Colin, which is about a zombie called Colin.
Oh, lovely.
There you go. So that was nice. So Death Stranding, that's details about that. People are really excited because I think some people didn't think it was going to happen because, I don't know the ins and outs of the story behind it, but isn't the developer, wasn't he kicked out? Wasn't he working Resident Evil? Was that right? And then he got
Colin, you've kicked the wasp's nest here. Hideo Kojima was used to work at Konami on Metal Gear Solid, and then they kind of basically broke his heart. So then he made his own studio, and they are, I don't know if they're owned by PlayStation, but the first game he's making is a PlayStation exclusive. And here we are, and we still don't really know what the game's going to be about. But he's an artist more than a game maker, I would say.
It does look very artistic, I will say that, looking at the images and trailers for it. He did release a synopsis as to what the game's going to be about today, but reading it just makes us have more questions. It doesn't really answer anything. It gives more questions about people's connections. Apparently the game is going to be about bringing isolated cities back into not being isolated or something, but that's all he says. So God knows what that means. So we wait and see. So that's interesting. And the last thing that's been announced recently, before we get onto the big Pokemon stuff, is there's going to be an Avengers game, Marvel's Avengers. We're going to get details about this at E3, and this is coming from Square Enix. So on their panel, they're going to talk about an Avengers game. So that's very exciting.
Because we saw a teaser for that over a year ago, I'd say a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So I can't believe. So maybe that'll be coming this year. But it's funny. It's been funny this week, and we'll talk about this more Pokemon in a second. It feels like people are getting their announcements out of the way now because it's stuff that they've found out there isn't going to be room for at E3.
Yeah.
Like the fact there's a Call of Duty trailer tomorrow. I mean, obviously there will be Call of Duty at E3 in some capacity, but it's interesting that like these couple of weeks leading up to it are really good for us as consumers, because it's like, here's all the news that there isn't quite time for at E3. Why not have it now? And that's what so let's talk about this Pokemon press conference, because last night there was a big Pokemon news event from Tokyo, where there were lots of different announcements, all of which I'm really glad aren't at Nintendo's E3, because it means more time to focus on Animal Crossing and whatever else they're going to be talking about. But here's the big Pokemon news, Colin. So the first things first.
Yeah.
Is a new service for iOS and Android and Nintendo Switch called Pokemon Home. Now, this is a Pokemon management system, a cloud service app that lets players continue their Pokemon adventures beyond a single platform. It connects with Pokemon Bank, as well as Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, Pokemon Sword and Shield, and Pokemon Go. And this is a way of managing collections across games, trading with friends around the world directly using Pokemon Home via mobile device. Now, here's the thing, Colin.
Yeah.
As announcements go, I think this is quite cool, but also I feel like this is what Pokemon Bank should have been. Like, the whole thing about Pokemon Bank was a kind of online storage system for Pokemon, and I don't understand why it's classic Nintendo. We'll talk more about it in a second, but to solve a problem by opening something new instead of fixing what's already there.
Wii U Nintendo Switch is the first.
Yeah, so this is I mean, for some people will love this. It launches in early 2020. And a potential future, this is on the website, a potential future edition will even allow multiple players in a single location to trade all at once. I'm not quite sure what that means. Multiple players, maybe it means everyone on one Switch, or it's not very clear. But anyway, we'll see what happens with this.
Everything's very cryptic at the moment with all these announcements. They've given little teasers, but not gone into much detail about all these different things, these different elements. They've also announced details of a new Detective Pikachu game coming to Nintendo Switch.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that, Colin, because I'm doing it in the order they announced it. So, speaking of Nintendo and Pokemon announcing things that kind of already existed, there is a new peripheral coming out, and it's called the Pokemon Go Plus Plus. It has the same function as the original Pokemon Go Plus. However, you can also use this new Pokemon Go Plus Plus in combination with a new game which is coming next year, a new app called Pokemon Sleep, a gameplay experience unlike any other. And this is going to use an accelerometer embedded in a Pokemon Go Plus Plus to track your time sleeping, send this information to your phone via Bluetooth. So it's a way of making sure it's like a Pokemon sleep monitor is all we know about it at the moment. But the fact that, and this is classic, this is literally just what I was saying, classic Pokemon here, to be like, hey, here's an accessory that you've been using for a year. Oh, you want a better one? It's time for the Pokemon Go Plus Plus. Like, right. Why is it called the Pokemon Go Plus Plus? What a stupid name.
Because they let the work experience person think of the name, and that's what happens when that happens.
It's a shame, but it's kind of cool. Like, as an app idea, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I think it could be quite good fun. And I think anything that encourages people to get more sleep should be a good thing, because we all need to be aware of how much we sleep and how healthy we are around our sleeping patterns. So I think it feels like a very Nintendo Pokemon move to be releasing software that is meant to make you healthier as people. We've seen that from Nintendo a hell of a lot. So we'll see what this is like when it launches in 2020.
But it does also feel a little bit like a April Fool's joke as well.
Absolutely. But to coincide with this, all this, I don't know when it ends actually, but on Pokemon Go at the moment, there are new models of Snorlax spawning, which are sleepy Snorlaxes blocking the roads, etc. When you actually catch them, they then just look like normal Snorlaxes, but they have the exclusive move Yawn, which is obviously quite powerful in the game and not so powerful in Pokemon Go. But anyway, have you caught any sleeping Snorlaxes yet, Colin?
I did. I caught one earlier, and what annoyed me a little bit about it is it always seems to be the third throw where you actually catch one.
Here's the thing that is annoying, but also it means that you don't need to waste your berries, because you can waste your good balls, because you can just toss a Pokeball at it on the third throw and you're going to get it.
I know. Yeah, it's good, but it's also a bit annoying because if it's a sleeping Snorlax, how come it can defend itself? How comes it's escaping if it's asleep? I don't
True.
get that.
The event runs till June the 3rd, by the way, in case you're so inclined. I've got a couple, not loads, but yeah, it's all right as events go. Like, it's a bit different, isn't it? Nice. It's nice thing Snorlax is on the radar.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very rare thing to see.
The other two bits of news to come out of the 3 bits of news to come out of the event: a new Pokemon mobile game called Pokemon Masters is on the way for iOS and Android. It's being made by DENA, who have worked on Nintendo before. Pokemon Masters lets players experience a new type of Pokemon battle on the go. It features many famous Pokemon trainers from the history of the Pokemon video games. And it's scheduled to launch in 2019. And apparently, there'll be more details about the game next month. So maybe at E3. Probably unlikely, but probably late June. Maybe there'll be a beta announcement date or something. So stay tuned for that. A new Detective Pikachu game is coming to the Switch. This is going to follow on from the original 3DS title and will resolve the cliffhanger at the end of that game. Conclusion to that story. More info on that as we get it. And finally, Tsunekazu Ishihara, the president of the Pokemon Company, concluded that at the press conference, the Pokemon shirts, which is a service in Japan where you can custom order shirts featuring your favorite original 151 Pokemon, the service is going to be expanded to the United States and Europe. So keep an eye out for that. No Sword and Shield news in this one because there is a Sword and Shield Pokemon Direct coming next week. It's June the 5th, I believe. So yeah, it's a busy old couple of weeks of Pokemon. And what of this took your fancy particularly, Colin?
What about all the stuff announced?
Yeah.
I don't really have interest in any of it, to be honest. And I'll tell you why, Chris. I'll tell you why. Because it's just the same stuff over and over again with Pokemon. The Sword and Shield stuff doesn't interest me. Remember when it was first announced about 2-3 months ago, whenever we got the first teaser of Sword and Shield, and we realized that it was going to be exactly the same as all the others, just like Call of Duty every year or FIFA every year. All it is an excuse to announce new Pokemon. And to be honest with you, Chris, I am sick of it.
Wouldn't it
So
be
darn
interesting to
sick of it.
see if Pokemon was handled by someone else?
And
I'd
what
love that, I don't know.
I think Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are very much of the if it ain't broke, don't fix it sort of ilk, isn't it? Like, it sells, we'll keep it the same.
Yeah, and I get that, but it is a shame, isn't it? But I don't think that's. I don't know if that's completely fair, to be honest, Colin. Like Pokemon Sleep is not a new thing. Is not like that's not a thing. You didn't predict that.
But here's the thing, like we've said, how it's like an April Fool's joke, which shows like it's such a stupid idea. I know it's good in theory, people encouraging people to sleep, but it is a bit of a stupid idea, to be honest. It's just like they've come up with an idea to keep people healthy and like put a Pokemon skin over it. I don't know. It just doesn't seem very. It's difficult because it is original, but it doesn't seem original. It's an original idea, but then it's a very basic and simplistic idea.
Yeah, I'll agree. It's a little. It is essentially just a sleep app.
Yes.
From what we know so far, that might change.
Yes.
I'm trying to think. Is there any other news that's taken your eye this week, Colin Byrne?
I mean, really, it's just all the as we build up to E3, all the trailers and all the little teasers and announcements we get. I was going off topic a little bit. I was thinking of getting the Assassin's Creed 3 Remaster Edition for Nintendo Switch, but after reading a few reviews, a lot of people saying that it doesn't play that well on the Switch. Especially when your Switch is docked, it doesn't play very well. It plays best in the handheld mode, but yeah, I don't know. For heading towards £40, I don't really know whether I will, and I can probably get the same game on my Xbox. I can probably get an Xbox 360 version with backwards compatibility on my Xbox One for about a £5 from CEX. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, maybe I'll just get Sonic Racing, which is out now.
It was interesting. I went into game over the weekend, and on the Switch aisle, so much of it was remasters that it was just a bit like, do you want to play Saints Row the Third? I mean, I can't wait for Pokemon. I can't wait for Nintendo E3 to actually be like, hey, here's some big stuff that's coming out this year. Don't forget, there's new things. Like
Not just
I think,
remasters.
yeah, I think it just needs that kick. I don't mind the occasional remaster, but I do feel like at the moment it's kind of been almost all remasters that people are, which is fine. Like, if people didn't play them the first time, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, talking of remasters, which I am excited for, the Crash Bandicoot Crash Team Racing remaster. Another video was released for that, and that looks pretty darn good. And I am excited for that one because that's going to be amazing. Because that's one of my favorite games. But yeah, it would be nice to get more original titles announced, and that's why it's going to be good. It's good that E3 is coming up because hopefully we will get some original titles.
Are you going to stay up?
No, I should wait until the day after and look on Twitter.
Yeah,
That's the best way to do it.
that's the fair way. Well, Colin, here's what I'm going to do.
What are you gonna do, man?
I'm going to say goodbye, but we're not going to stop the broadcast because I do want to hear about Hugh Jackman.
Huge action.
But what we'll do is we'll say goodbye. We'll keep the pod running as a little bonus post credits. If you're interested in something non-handheld gamey, get lost, Siri. But I think that's everything. We'll be back next week at the same time. Thank you very much for listening to Heroes of Handheld, episode 256. We can be reached on Twitter at Handheld Podcast. You can find us on Facebook by searching Heroes of Handheld. You can also write to us, heroeshandheld@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. Genuinely, we really do love hearing from you. So shoot us an email. If there's anything in particular you want to talk about, it'd be nice to catch up with y'all. And we'll be back next week. But don't go because, Colin, don't spoil it for me. But I do want to hear, how did you get on with Hugh Jackman?
So, Huge Action. I went up to Birmingham to watch Huge Action on Bank Holiday Monday. We had really good seats. Not in the flat floor areas, in the tiered section to the side, to a good view of the main stage and the B stage as well. I say B stage, the bit that sticks out. And I'm not going to spoil anything as to what we discussed or what we did, but I've been to a lot of shows in my time, Chris, on my time on this planet, past 27 years, and no word of a lie, it's one of the best shows I've ever been to, without a doubt. Absolutely fantastic, varied. Just I had a smile on my face. I teared up a few times. It was just such a good show. He's just so great, Hugh Jackman. He just seems so genuine, so down to earth, self-deprecating, honest, funny, talented. It was just amazing. And yeah, you are in for an absolute treat. And reading other people's thoughts on it, I'm not the only person who thought that as well. He really is. He's not. Well, it turns out he's actually sort of. Here's a bit of a spoiler for you. Turns out he sort of is part British because his parents are English. So there you go.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he's got British blood running through his veins. But yeah, it is a great, great show, and it's not the show you probably think it's going to be as well. I mean, it definitely wasn't the show that we thought. I don't know if he had much. I'm sure he did have a lot of say in how it was all paced out and how it was all done. But you could tell a lot of thought had gone into how it would run and the different acts and the different parts of it. And I just flowed so nicely. It was one bit flowed nicely into the next bit. There was good guests. There was good people accompanying him. The stage was really cool as well, how it was done. The opening was great. The ending was great. It was just so darn good, and I'll be shocked if you don't feel the same when you see it. I think you're going to absolutely love it. You'll leave with a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. You want to go watch it again. As soon as we left, we wanted to go back in and watch it again.
Did he have a support, or did he just come straight on?
He didn't have support as such. When we saw him, he just had a DJ who was playing music. He wasn't really a DJ; it was just someone playing music. That's what it was. But that didn't feel like a bad thing, really. It didn't really ruin it at all because it means he's on stage longer, obviously. Because you get such a fully fledged show with him and what he brings and what he does, and the guests that he has with him, that you don't feel shortchanged. You get a proper full show, and though it obviously wasn't the cheapest, you feel like it was absolutely worth it. The amount of effort and the amount of planning and choreography and everything that went into it, worth every single penny. And as I said, I would see it again. One of the best shows I've seen. You will not be disappointed.
Keen.
And I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts when you see it in London, because obviously the O2 Arena is bigger than the NEC. So that'd be interesting to see how it's all laid out when you go see it. But no, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on it. Yeah, I reckon you'll love it. I really do think you'll love it.
I am buzzing. 1 week yesterday to go.
Shit, it's gonna be so good.
Can't wait.
Whereabouts are you positioned? Where are your seats?
If I'm honest with you, mate, I can't remember. I believe we are in the stalls, but I think we're at the back of the stalls.
Nice, that's good.
But I'll send you a photo next week.
Do it. Very excited for you because you're going to have such a great time.
I'm really excited. And just whilst we're on air, Colin, what do you think the score is?
It's 0-0.
It's 0-0. All right. Have a good week, everyone. Thanks very much. Colin, you're a babe.
So you're the babyest.
Oh, and I'll speak to you next week.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.